I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this is our daily Bible study. We're going to continue on in the 8th Bible study, which deals with understanding fear. And we are now, I believe, at the 7th installment, and this is the 6th of the 7th installment. So, daily Bible study number 8. The 7th installment, Terms for Fear, or Understanding Fear, and the 6th installment of this study, which is in continuation, Terms for Fear. Again, this is what we call a definitive study, where we take terms from Scripture, and to gain a greater understanding of these terms, such as fear, we take all of the words and we begin to build not just a synopsis, but a discursive platform where we can now understand the totality of fear, what each word means, and how it contributes to the overall meaning of fear. We can then get an understanding as to what are the types of fear, what are the dynamics of fear, how does fear interwove itself within the context of our mind, of our emotion, and how does it cause us to move? All emotions come from the term emotive or ex movere. Ex movere, out, movement out. And so emotions are designed to get you to move, sometimes out of a demographic area, sometimes emotionally to respond, sometimes intellectually to respond. But all emotions will move you either physically, mentally, or spiritually. Let's dive right into our context today. We're going to deal with the term megorah. Megorah. Again, this is a Hebrew term, and megorah deals specifically with the meaning of affright, being afraid. And again, this term talks about a sojourner or a traveler. And so it deals with a person who's in a strange land, walking about, not feeling safe, and therefore he associates the place that he's in with a place of danger. And so it's a type of fear that invokes the emotive state or the mental state of trying to find a place or someone that you feel safe with. And so it deals with being outside of the norm, outside of the situation, which is sometimes outside of what we would call the societal norm. If we go a little further, the term in clarifying, it's fear and terror. And so it is a sense of mental and emotive state where there is already fear there and apprehension there. And so mentally or intellectually, this is a type of fear where we have already assessed a situation. And in the assessment of the situation, the assessment brings to us logically that we are in a place of danger. Once this assessment takes place, then the intellect throws it to the emotions, and the emotions then begin to set up the standard of fear, which sometimes the brain hijacks all common sense, and instead of preparing, we flee, we move. And so again, this is an assessment that we have taken a look at all of our surroundings. These surroundings are unfamiliar, and what we do see, the logic kicks in and says, it's time for danger. Emotions switch over, and because emotions are designed to move, we either will prepare to fight, we will flee, we will become incapacitated, freeze, or we will faint, we will lose consciousness, and we will lose the capability of even doing anything because the fear overwhelms us. And that's what terror is. Now, if we go a little further, and many of these fears, again, deal with being in a type of place or position where you're surrounded by people you can't trust, surrounded by people who you feel will do some harm to you. And so it deals with the sojourner. It has the connotation that one feels alone. It has the connotation that one is by themselves, and because they can't trust one another, they're moving within a society, within a place, to find a place that is their own. If we were to look at this today, we could see many cases of this where people have migrated to this country, and in their migration, because of specific things in specific neighborhoods, and because specific behaviors have been enacted towards them, they don't feel safe in specific arenas. And this is why racial cultures, racial groups, sometimes even religious groups will form their own spot, their own position, their own community, because this is the only place that they feel safe. I want to move on. We're going to go just a little further and try to bring forth another word. And we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to move this as quick as possible. Our next word is again a Hebrew word, and this word is mora. Some say mara, some say mora. And so it's fear, and it is fear by implication, a fearful thing or a deed, a dread that ought to be feared. And so it deals with terribleness. And terribleness sometimes is the act of another, not necessarily enacted against you, but sometimes this act is enacted against others, and we see it, and right away the mind says, if this was done to them, it can be done to me or my family. And so it produces an apprehension. It produces a mindset and an emotive state where we look at it, we calculate it, and logically and through critical thinking, we have determined that this thing, this situation, this position can be very dangerous if we were to continue. The term mara can also deal with fear, reverence, or terror. It is an object of reverence such as God. It is an awe-inspiring spectacle or deed, and these deeds can be either great or they can be catastrophic. Sometimes the term mara can be associated with a natural terror or a natural event such as the erupting of a volcano. And because this volcano is very intense, very loud, very powerful, we see it as a horrible thing, a terrible thing, and we cower beneath it because we feel so small in regard to its power and its capability. If we were to go to the ancient Hebrew again, it deals with, again, this is a picture of a man's hand, and is a picture of a man. So when you take these two pictographs together, the man's hand and the picture of a man, the hand of man is used for the throwing down and the flowing of water or a river. And so this then talks about a river brook or water being cast down or flung down by the hand. And so this terminology takes us to an understanding that just as a man would willfully throw water down for whatever reason, either to water or because it's bitter, then the concept initiates the concept of, through one's will, causing yourself to be lowered, tossing yourself down at the feet of something, or becoming emotionally or emotively crippled. Therefore, you become subservient to something that you see as greater than you, that you see as more powerful than you. And so you cower beneath it, you humble yourself, you lower yourself to the ground as you would toss water. Because in lowering yourself to the ground, in many cases, we feel that submission will keep us safe. And if we submit, those things, if they are persons or animals, those things will not harm us. But in many cases, because something is overwhelming, like a tsunami, like a flood, people have a tendency, again, the four F's. They will either fight, and there's no way you can fight a flood. They will be moved to flight, seeking to survive the natural state or the natural condition, or they will freeze, or they will faint. We're out of time. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and I thank you for joining us for our daily Bible study. Always remember, Jesus is Lord, and He's coming back again. Until next time, God bless.